Well, a pretty disturbing day yesterday in Westminster, where you've seen really a dangerous shambles unfold. Now, at time of recording, over 60 MPs have actually said they have no confidence now in the Speaker, Lindsay Hoyle. Here is the fundamental point with what has gone on in Westminster recently, and it's this. The reports that the Labour leader, Keir Starmer, decided to intervene personally, visited the Speaker in his office, and that those briefed on this meeting said that the Labour leader had warned Lindsay Hoyle that Labour MP's security was at risk, that they'd been deluged with threats and abuse, and that with protesters congregating outside of Parliament, they were worried that worse might be to come. And so essentially now, you're in a situation in this country where it seems it's been reported that the Speaker's decision, at least partly motivated by threats made against MPs. This has been backed up by others, such as Dan Hodges, saying that he spoke to an MP yesterday who told him he had to weigh up his own physical safety when deciding how to vote on yesterday's Gaza motion, that we're not a properly functioning democracy if this is a factor in how elected representatives act. Conservative peer Lord Wolfson saying, so the Speaker took his exceptional decision because of real threats to the safety of MPs, their families and staff. The old rule, he says, proves yet again what starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews, and that perhaps we can now finally stand up to those who threaten our democracy. Chloe Chaplin, another one, reporting that she was told the Speaker's decision was motivated by a desire to protect MPs from threats, and the MPs went to him with concerns in the lead up to the vote due to threats to themselves, families and staff. The likes of Daniel Finkelstein pointing out this is not a Westminster issue, it's a democratic crisis if it's true. David Vidket there saying sensible people have been saying for months since the terrorist attack on Israel that Islamists and their supporters should not march on our streets. We knew where this would lead, and yet throwing parliamentary convention out of the window to appease this braying mob. A Reform leader, Richard Tice, pointing out that he had called for hateful anti-Semitic marches to be banned, and that it's weak, gutless leadership that has led to this. And yesterday, yet again, there were disgusting scenes in Westminster. You saw Martin Daubney being egged. And just compare what we've seen in this country to what you saw in France. France banned all pro-Palestinian protests. You actually saw the French police dispersing crowds with tear gas and water cannons. Former Home Secretary Suella Braverman has called for a much tougher approach from the government, pointing out the need to criminalise the cheerleaders of terrorism, to clarify that anti-Semitic chanting like from the river to the sea and jihad is illegal, and allow ministers to ban a march if there is a risk of violence. But the terrible situation that has been allowed to unfold now by the government, exposed once again by this warning from William Shawcross that Islamist extremism is not being effectively tackled by the government, saying that he'd warned a year ago about the need to tackle the pernicious threat from Hamas supporters, that network has become more dangerous following the attack on Israel, and citing their MI5 data that 75% of its caseload is focused on Islamist threats, yet the latest referrals to the Prevent programme show just 12% are actually related, apparently because there is a reluctance to address the Islamist threat because people are apparently frightened of being called Islamophobic or racist. This is all very, very troubling stuff. I'm just going to leave you with the perspective with this speech from Conservative MP Andrew Percy.
Members will not vote with their hearts because they are frightened and they are scared. And what do we expect? For months I've been standing up here talking about the people on our streets demanding death to Jews, demanding jihad, demanding intifadas, as the police stand by and allow that to happen. Last night, a genocidal call for from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, was projected onto this building. That message says no Jew is welcome in the state of Israel or in that land. This is going to continue happening because we're not dealing with it. So if we have a rerun of this, Can the leader explain to me what will be any different, and how will members vote with their hearts and their consciences? Because too many will not at the moment because of the threats we're receiving, threats that are telling us to leave this country in some of our cases, and telling us that they want us or our families to be subjected to pain and to death.